Sorry for the late upload. Today's quote: Don't sit like a rock, work like a clock. Today's articles: China doubles down on claims on eastern Bhutan boundary. Students in limbo as UGC yet to decide on final year exams. 3 messages from the editorial page. Surely, even if slow. This is from editorial page. The Beijing-Islamabad equation of the 1960s. The first article: China doubles down on claims on eastern Bhutan boundary. After Thimphu's demarc, Beijing includes eastern sectors to boundary dispute. Days after Bhutan sent China a demarc protesting against Chinese claims to the Sakting Wildlife Sanctuary in eastern Bhutan, Beijing has doubled down, including Bhutan's eastern sectors, to the boundary dispute between the two countries for the first time. The boundary between China and Bhutan has never been delimited. There have been disputes over the eastern, central and western sectors for a long time, said the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a statement to the media in Beijing. The MFA was responding to questions about China's attempt last month to stop funding for the Sakting Sanctuary from the UN Development Programme's Global Environment Facility on the grounds that it was disputed territory. According to written records, there has been no mention of eastern Bhutan or Trashingang Zonggang district where Sakting is based that borders Arunachal Pradesh in 24 previous rounds of boundary negotiations held between two countries between 1984 and 2016. So far, the talks have been about 3 specific areas including Jakarlang and Pasamlang in the north and the Chumbi Valley where Doklam is situated in West Bhutan. The negotiations have not been held since the Doklam standoff between Indian and Chinese troops in 2017. In July 2018, Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Kong Xuanyu visited Bhutan and met with the Bhutanese King, Prime Minister and other officials, but the 25th round of talks has not yet taken place. Sources said the talks could not be held in 2019 due to scheduling difficulties and the coronavirus pandemic has delayed them further this year. The Bhutanese government and its embassy in Delhi declined to comment on the issue. Bhutan has always maintained a discreet silence on its boundary negotiations with China and it does not have any formal diplomatic relations with Beijing. The Ministry of External Affairs too declined to comment. The Hindu has learned that Bhutan has issued a demarc to the Chinese embassy in New Delhi last month, protesting against the Chinese statement at the Global Environmental Facility meeting that decides on global grants for various projects. The Sakting Sanctuary has in the past too received such grants, including in 2018-2019 for a project on preventing soil erosion without any objection from China. Bhutan has sent a strong message to China, said one source, adding that Bhutan's response was also given through the GAF Council meeting where China had raised the issue. At the time, Bhutan has assumed that since the Chinese representative was not a foreign ministry official but a deputy director general DDG in the Chinese Financial and Monetary Cooperation Division, that the decision to stop the grant which failed was not thought through. According to the GEF Council Chairman's summary released on June 16 of the virtual meeting held on June 2 to 3, Aparna Subramani, the World Bank official representing Bhutan as well as India, Bangladesh, Maldives and Sri Lanka had said that Bhutan totally rejects the claim made by the council member of China. Sakting Wildlife Sanctuary is an integral and sovereign territory of Bhutan and at no point during the boundary discussions between Bhutan and China has it featured as a disputed area. Bhutan hoped its response would close the matter, the sources added. According to Bhutanese experts, the claim on Sakting will open new fronts of negotiation when the next round of boundary talks are held. Such claims undermine the boundary talks, and while claims on either side by officials will only exacerbate issues as Bhutan too can lay claims far north. said Tenzing Lamsang, editor of the Bhutanese newspaper in Thimphu, in a series of tweets last week. Ultimately, Bhutan and China need to resolve its boundary disputes or such false claims will come up as a prejudice, he added, with inputs from the Anand Krishnan. Second article. Students in limbo as UGC yet to decide on final year exams. 7 states announce cancellation, others waiting for orders. 11 days after the centre asked the University Grants Commission UGC to review its guidelines on final year university examinations, there is still no clarity for many anxious students across the country. At least 7 states have cancelled their college and university examinations: Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Odisha, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and West Bengal, without waiting for the UGC's fresh guidelines. However, some private universities will continue to conduct online examinations in these states. Gujarat cites MHRD. Gujarat Education Minister Bhupendra Singh Chudasama told media persons that the Union Human Resource Development Ministry had sent a communication to all states asking them to postpone all exams till further notice, and the state has done so. The HRD minister did not respond to request for confirmation on this. Karnataka's Deputy Chief Minister and Higher Education Minister C.N. Ashwath Narayan said the state is waiting for instructions from the HRD ministry and the UGC. After we receive some instructions from them, the state government will make a decision, he told the Hindu. Tamil Nadu, on the other hand, has set up its own panel to recommend a decision. For central universities, the UGC decision is still awaited, with Delhi University students scheduled to being online open book examinations in a week's time despite multiple difficulties with mock tests. With COVID-19 cases increasing at the rate of more than 22,000 per day, some students have stepped up a campaign through letters, social media and court cases to cancel examinations and grant degrees on the basis of their performance in internal assessments and previous semester examinations. The hashtag No More Wait UGC was trending on Sunday with almost 40,000 tweets. Students, parents and teachers are not ready to risk lives during COVID-19, tweeted an Andhra Pradesh students group using hashtag Students Lives Matter. A group of students from the Gujarat Technological University wrote to UGC asking that their exams, which have been postponed, be cancelled and alternative assessment methods approved so that they can go ahead with future plans. Other GTU students, however, said they were depending on the final year examinations to boost their grades. In April, a UGC panel headed by Vice Chancellor of Central University of Haryana, R.C. Kuhat, had recommended that final year examinations could be held in July, while intermediate semester students could be graded based on internal assessment or examinations where possible. On June 24, HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank said he had advised UGC to review its earlier guidelines. Board exams. Since then, the HRD Ministry has cancelled school board examinations and postponed medical and engineering entrance examinations. However, the fate of university exams is still undecided, with students looking for a job or applying for further studies left hanging in the limbo, with inputs from Tanu Kulkarni in Bangalore. Third article from the editorial page. 3 messages. At Leh, PM Modi had different messages for India, China and the world community. With his visit to Nimmu near Leh, which houses the 14 Corps headquarters including the base hospital, Prime Minister Narendra Modi accomplished several objectives. He visited soldiers injured during the Galwan clash on June 15, addressed troops involved in the standoff with China, and was briefed directly by senior officers involved in operational preparedness who are also conducting military talks with China's People's Liberation Army. In his speech to soldiers in Nimmu, he addressed different audience as well, with the biggest message for the Chinese leadership, where he said that the age of expansionism is over, calling this the era of evolution or development. Mr. Modi said that the era of colonial expansion is over. He said that in the past, expansionist forces have done great harm to humanity and had been erased or forced to relent. The message to Beijing was this: it must not engage in territorial aggression across its boundaries with countries from Central Asia to the South China Sea, including India, and it must also recall its own anger against imperialism that so many in the PRC's leadership have decried. Despite the fact that he did not once name China, the message appeared to have hit home, with the Chinese embassy in Delhi issuing a denial that it had made any expansionist moves. The Prime Minister also addressed other countries that are viewing the growing seriousness of the 2-month-long standoff with concern, as he spoke about India's tradition of peace with bravery, indicating that diplomatic options would be exhausted before any action. To his domestic audience, the address signified the government's determination to face the challenge at the line of actual control and to focus on national priorities of infrastructure and economic development. Finally, he addressed the soldiers themselves as he spoke of the value of the men who have been engaged in the clashes along the LAC, including the Galwan confrontation in which 20 Indian soldiers were killed. In all three aspects of the address, the speech must be welcomed and its unspoken messages should also be studied closely. While the Prime Minister's decision to visit troops near the LAC was well timed and apt, it also raised the temperature of the Indian-China engagement and indicates that military talks for disengagement and the dispersal of the massive mobilization of troops on both sides have not made much progress. The contrast in his tone from just 2 weeks ago, when he reassured the nation that neither has anyone transgressed nor is anyone inside Indian territory, indicates that the situation is far more serious than was previously understood. It is to be hoped that the government, which has thus far not given the nation the full picture on what has happened and what the nation needs to prepare for, will do so now, further clarifying the Prime Minister's core message at lay. Fourth article. Surely, even if slowly. There is an urgent need for a vaccine against COVID-19, but it cannot be hastened into being. Yet again, the pandemic has revealed cracks in the conduct of the Indian Council of Medical Research (ICMR). A letter by the agency's head, Dr. Balram Bhargava, to doctors last week preparing to test a vaccine for human trials appeared to be coercing them into getting a vaccine ready by August 15. After public uproar, the agency clarified that its intent was to infuse a sense of urgency given the pandemic and that there were no plans to deviate from the rulebook on vaccine development. However, there was no rationale extended for why the date August 15 cropped up. Given the crisis at hand, regulatory agencies the world over have relaxed rules on drug testing and vaccine trials. While scientific rigor cannot be compromised, there is a move globally to allow more leeway to formulations that show some promise and allow them into the market under medical guidance. This is why drugs such as Remdesivir and Favipiravir, despite limited evidence of success, have made it to the bedside of patients. Vaccines are an entirely different game. The basic philosophy of all vaccines involves introducing fragments, in some cases the whole virus, albeit in a weakened form, into healthy volunteers. Therefore, the first checkpoint is that the vaccine candidate should not sicken a healthy person. The second hurdle is that a vaccine must stimulate the immune system just enough to get it to produce protective antibodies. In other words, it must be efficacious, and finally, only if all were to go well, it must be tested in several thousand people in real world conditions. And they must be shown over time to be better protected than those who were unvaccinated. Each one of these steps cannot in principle be rushed, and each is necessary to ensure that the vaccine can be released for public use. The Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech, the makers of Covaxin, has experience and credibility in vaccine manufacture. Covaxin is developed from a strain of SARS-CoV-2 isolated at NIV. However, this only makes it one of hundreds of potential vaccines being tested, and the consensus of experts is that no vaccine can be readied for use until next year. This is now largely understood by most, and hence the behavioral changes on social distancing and an insistence on wearing masks in public. It is therefore perplexing why the ICMR, with its panoply of eminences, would want to cut corners with a basic premise of research that science does not progress in a hurry. The pandemic has brought into focus the unavoidable role of uncertainty. New aspects of the disease are being brought to light sometimes every day. The best strategy in the midst of such flux is to maintain absolute transparency and proceed surely, even if slow. Fifth article. The Beijing-Islamabad equation of the 1960s. Archival material reveals China's strategic planning despite stated positions on Kashmir, other issues. Two conversations that Communist Party Chairman Mao Zedong and Premier Zhou Enlai had in the 1960s with their Pakistani interlocutors reveal the nature of close consultations between Islamabad and Beijing when it came to India. In comments to a visiting Pakistani minister, Mao was quoted as saying, "I once said to the former Indian ambassador, the younger R.K. Nehru, that our main enemy is the United States. You are not our enemy. Later, I ordered that Chinese soldiers are not allowed to shoot at the Indian army. A Chinese soldier ran to India and told them about it. They thought we would never shoot. They are very happy and went to our rare areas to walk around. We changed our plan. We increased our strength to 3.5 divisions, hit them and then retreated. They weren't expecting that." R.K. Nehru was India's ambassador to China from November 1955 to July 1958. Mao also reveals that what it means for a country to be rich in his strategic view. The main thing is that if you can get rich, you will be fine. You will be able to boycott the United States, Britain and India, and you will be fine. You will need to make weapons. Can you make them? Start by repairing them and move up to building them yourself later. The Chinese leader also asks Pakistani Commerce Minister Wahid Zaman in July 1964 why Pakistan did not fear the Communist Party but the capitalists, and then proceeds to answer his question. The conversation is available in the Wilson Center's digital archive. I think this is because we have no conflicts of interest and no border disputes. We don't want to encroach on your land. You don't want our Tibet or Xinjiang either. Neither of us wants to exploit and oppress. We are equal, and as equal, we can be friends, Mao tells Zaman. We had good relations with India for several years. Then when we took Tibet back, India got annoyed. India not only infringed on 90,000 square kilometers of Chinese territory, but they want all of Tibet as well. The Indian people are good, but capitalists like Jawaharlal Nehru are not good, Mao added. Zhuo on Kashmir. Mao's conversation with Zaman and Chinese Premier Zhuo Enlai's talks with Bangla peasant leader Maulana Bhashani in November 1963 also shows the depth of discussion between Pakistan and China on Kashmir and other issues. Zhuo takes great pains to emphasize why in public China advocates the route of bilateral talks between India and Pakistan to settle the Kashmir dispute. If we were to say that we support self-determination for the people of Kashmir, India would simply suggest self-determination for the people of the Aksai Chin region in Xinjiang. Following that, it would raise the issue for Tibet. These are both our territory. Why should they have self-determination, he says. In Zhuo's view, India wanted to occupy the Aksai Chin region, namely their so-called Ladakh. The Chinese premier said that while Pakistan wanted China to support the right of self-determination of the Kashmirs, but in fact our actions already go beyond this. A transcript of the November 1963 conversation, also available in the Wilson Center Digital Archive, stated, "We have settled the Sino-Pakistani border question with you. The people of the world understand this, and it indicates that we acknowledge that this region belongs to you, even though there remains something left unsaid. This is only because of the stipulations of international law. Pakistani Ambassador Agha Muhammad Raza knows this, but we will talk again after the sovereignty jurisdiction issue has been settled," Jhuo added. "Our concrete actions offer benefit than abstract statements. In fact, the right to national self-determination is stipulated explicitly in the United Nations Charter, and the UN has also adopted a resolution of abstract principles. We have consistently supported these abstract principles of national self-determination, but settling these issues requires relying on concrete measures. Therefore, the two of us opposing India's aggression together is most concrete and effective," Zhuo added. Both Mao and Zhuo's comments suggest that the top Chinese leadership was far from averse to sending false signals to India or saying something in public to safeguard their national positions, like on Kashmir. And these two candidate conversations reveal India yesterday and today is dealing with the formidable adversary which can be abstract principles in opposition to concrete measures, and whose foreign policy is guided by domestic compulsions. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.